This story begins with a game that everyone else has played, except for me. GoldenEye. Why didn't I play GoldenEye? I don't know, I'm a stupid bitch. Okay, I played it once as a kid. Went to my friend's house and they were playing it. I, like many others, saw the Nintendo 64 controller and saw an FPS for the first time and said, how the hell do I make this do that? Then my friend shot me, and I saw blood ooze down the screen, and not having seen a James Bond movie before in my life, and I still haven't, every time I try to watch James Bond, something terrible happens. Rest in peace, Uncle Ray. I could only sit there and say, okay, that's pretty badass. Then I get sent home because my friend's mom heard me say badass and forced me to leave. Anyways, as everyone knows, GoldenEye was made by Rare, because somehow Nintendo just owned the James Bond video game rights for a while there, and when Rare wanted to make a game about the next James Bond movie, well, they lost the rights to EA. EA, where good things go to die. Rare, however, soldiered on and made Perfect Dark, a spiritual successor to GoldenEye, a game I haven't played either. And compared to GoldenEye, most people haven't played it at all either. However, as Perfect Dark was being worked on, several employees from Rare that had worked on GoldenEye left and made their own studio. That studio? Free Radical Design. Don't worry, most people don't know this studio ever existed either. Their first project? Another spiritual successor to GoldenEye. TimeSplitters. I actually did play this game, so I wanted to make this video when I had cut my teeth some more in content creation. That way I could make a video with better editing and, well, mostly just better editing and speaking with my outside voice. But TimeSplitters is a trilogy of games that I hold so close to my heart that I have had the unquenchable urge to talk about for so many years now. And I don't want to talk about it at work because I really don't want to get fired after saying something like, you don't get it, his catchphrase is, it's time to split, and everyone in universe thinks it's cringe, that's what makes it funny. Years before I ever thought about grabbing a capture card, I said, if I'm ever going to talk about a game series on YouTube, it's going to be TimeSplitters. TimeSplitters is that series that I never see any big YouTubers really talking about. Since I'm not a big YouTuber, there's still no big YouTubers talking about it, which I find surprising actually, because whenever I see TimeSplitters being brought up on the internet, I never see anything less than a circle jerk for it. Maybe there's a few cynical pricks out there who roll their eyes and say, you can't jump in that game? Well, it may have smooth gameplay, but I call poppycock on that. That's a funny thing too. Because of this, you'd think TimeSplitters fans would be gatekeeping assholes that would gladly let the series rot in obscurity so they wouldn't have to share it with the normies. But no, I always see discussions about this game revolving around people saying that this series should have been more popular than it was. But alas, TimeSplitters will forever be that series that people hold near and dear while we fantasize what this series could have been if it had a real chance. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So unfortunately, I did not play TimeSplitters when it first came out. I know, I'm a bandwagoner, I'm no true fan. I haven't even been there since day one. When this game released as a launch title for the PS2, I was still rocking a Nintendo 64 and a PS1. I remember one time, shortly before TimeSplitters 3 came out, I went to Jewel Osco of all places, and do you remember how these kinds of grocery stores would sometimes stock brand new movies and old as fuck movies that they just couldn't get rid of up front? Well, one day, I went there and I saw one single video game, TimeSplitters. I was immediately drawn to it. I wonder why. $5. I'd be stupid not to grab it there. But I'd also be stupid to grab it there because I didn't own a PS2 until about 4 years ago. So I went my entire life without playing this game. After I grabbed it for $10 and finally played it, what do I think? Well, if I was an early adopter of the PS2 back in the day, I think this is one of the best multiplayer experiences of my life. As an adult in 2024, well, it spawned two of my favorite games ever, and it was only $10. Like I said, this is a PS2 launch title. Look at that blue disc. I didn't even know the PS2 launched with CDs like this until I bought it. Have fun trying to play this game on a PS2 Slim, like I did. Have you even played a PS2 launch title? Now, this isn't me challenging your gaming cred or anything. I'm literally asking if you played any of these games because I and everyone else I know were under the impression that the PS2 came out in 2001 with the other consoles of that generation. But nope, it was actually 2000, only a few months after dropping Final Fantasy IX on the PS1. But anyways, I'm getting distracted. TimeSplitters. It certainly is a PS2 launch title. I can't find too much development details, but I can only assume probably made in a little over a year. After playing the other two games first, I am surprised by the presentation. I guess I should build a reputation for having very superficial critiques in video games, so I'll just say, wow, these menus are cheap. These look like placeholders. Hell, they look like the menus you'll see in some early access games on Steam before they start putting in some more time and money into the game. Again, I get it, because it was a launch title. It had to be done weeks before this date here. Okay, but fuck the menus. No one plays a video game for menus. Okay, most games. But how is the most important aspect of a game? The gameplay. I don't like to judge games by how dated they are. After all, I still legitimately like Nintendo 64 games in this day and age, and who am I to say that a game that hasn't aged well is bad? But, I don't think I like this game that much. Controls are rough, but again, it's a PS2 launch title in a time where FPS controls haven't become standardized. Hell, this was a time where devs just couldn't comprehend gamers being able to use the second analog stick, so they just gave you extreme levels of aim assist. I feel like Rambo right now because I ain't aiming for shit right now. Now I will say the graphics aren't too bad for its time. It only looks bad in this footage because I can't find a decent AVI to HDMI adapter to save my life, and I'm stuck with the one that makes every console before HDMI look like absolute shit. Seriously, if you know of any good AVI to HDMI adapters, help a brother out. I have no doubt in my mind that it's the lack of nostalgia talking. If I had played this game 24 years ago, I'd probably be talking about how great it is right now. But as someone who only first played this game a few months ago, and a second time today as I'm recording this audio, I'm not having a great time here. Explosives are bullshit. If I have to play TimeSplitters 1 again, all explosive weapons are banned. Also, let's try out the only game mode exclusive to TimeSplitters 1, Escort. That was Escort. The fact that you have to sit through a 30-second loading screen before and after every match doesn't make this game mode any better. Now let's talk about something else that hasn't aged well. The content. There's not a lot here, especially the story mode. The story mode here consists of you running and gunning through a multiplayer map, 5 objectives, whoop whoop, congrats bitch. Now, there are more objectives if you play the level on medium, something that TimeSplitters 2 would inherit, but unlike TimeSplitters 2, the time to kill for NPCs are just as fast for you, and the NPCs in this game are brutal, so easy mode it is. Ah sweet, I can finally play another round. Ah crap. Oh hell yeah, Planet X. Oh 2020, the far off year of the future. Anyways, I can't wait to play as the legendary Hank Nova again.
Roger, sir. I'm going in.
Who the hell are you? All in all, I don't really have too much to say about TimeSplitters. Well, compared to the next two games. But of course, that's just because I've played maybe 2 hours of TimeSplitters compared to the hundreds I spent on the sequels. It's funny, I went into this game expecting my opinion to be, yeah, so this game came out in 2000 as a launch title for the PS2, and it certainly felt like a launch title for the PS2, so I would avoid it, hoping that I would instead be like, no, this is a genuinely great game that despite it not holding up well, is still extremely fun to play. But, in the end, it's yeah, so this game came out in 2000 as a launch title for the PS2, and it certainly felt like a launch title for the PS2, so I would avoid it. Situation. For $10, I'm satisfied. If I had to pay $20 or $30, I think that's where I would draw the line, because $20 and $30 is how much I paid for TimeSplitters 2 and 3 respectively on eBay. But at the end of the day, all I can say is, TimeSplitters 1 is good. Just good. But this is the TimeSplitters trilogy. Good game isn't good enough. Oh, hell yeah, TimeSplitters 2. So a quick rundown of how I discovered this game. So I had some neighbors who were spoiled rotten. Any game they saw at the store, they wanted. They got, period. I remember we were all excited for Mortal Kombat Deception, but uh-oh, it's not available on the GameCube, and both me and my neighbors only had GameCubes. Looks like we were going to have to skip out on this game, just joking. The day they found out that it was exclusive to the PS2 and Xbox, their parents went right out to the store and bought them an Xbox. My grandpa had to die to give us an inheritance before my parents could ever stomach the idea of me getting a GameCube. But yeah, they just got any game they wanted. In some cases, not even really wanted, just games that they looked at and thought they were neat by the cover. TimeSplitters 2 was one of them. They invited me over, and I looked at the GameCube controller, and at this point in my life, I still haven't played an FPS, so I spent the whole time playing this game saying, well, how do I make this? Do that! And needless to say, I wasn't a fan. But they quickly became fans of it, so whenever I hung out with them, TimeSplitters 2 was on the menu, which sucked because they got better and better at the game, and since I only got to play this game when I went over to their house, I wasn't exactly getting the opportunity to get better at it. Don't you hate that? When a friend would play a game with you that they own, but they're so good at it and demolish you because your only experience with the game is when you hang out with them, and the only person that knows how to fucking destroy any new player in a heartbeat? Despite this not so great introduction to the game, there was certainly something about it that made me curious. So like I said, they got whatever game they wanted. I, however, if I wanted a game, I would have to go to the game section of Game Store where my mom did the shopping, and I'd have to wait for her to come and get me so she could check out the groceries. If she said, yo Ed, come on, that meant no video games for me. But if she ever said, hey, what game are you looking at? That was my cue. I specifically remember looking at some other random game, and so I noticed a copy of TimeSplitters 2, and I knew this was my chance. So I now owned a copy of TimeSplitters 2 for the GameCube. I brought it home, played the shit out of it, and actually got good at it. Then when I went to my friend's house, they moved on to some other game. Well, you know what? Now I'm glad they moved away. You know what else is funny? Apparently, I could have missed out on this game as well. This video wouldn't even be made if the people at Free Radical weren't sitting there going, hey, the PS2 isn't the only console on the market anymore. The Xbox and the GameCube are here too. But Eidos, the publisher of the first two TimeSplitters games, said, well, we don't do business with Nintendo. To which Free Radical threatened to go with a different publisher, and Eidos gave in. Well, wow. Thanks, Free Radical. Turns out threats against your employers do work sometimes. Not in my case, though. But who cares if they moved on? I had TimeSplitters. Okay, so try to replay it now. It is a tad janky. But hey, it went into development a year before Halo came out, aka the game that really defined what FPS games would play like on consoles, so you can cut them some slack right there. Alright, so where should I start? Okay, I'll start with the story. There is actually an attempt at one. Keyword, attempt. On paper, the story missions aren't really a huge step up from TimeSplitters' story mode. However, TimeSplitters 2 has cutscenes, and by cutscenes, I mean intro cutscenes, and that's all the context you get. That's still better than the first game. In fact, unlike the first game, we get a protagonist. In the first game, you can just play it as the character that's specific to the mission you're playing as. You're going to play as Sebastian Proton in Planet X, Captain Ash while raiding a tomb, Harry Tipper while taking on the Mafia in this Chinese restaurant. In this game, you play as the amazing Sergeant Cortez in Corporal Hart. Kinda. You see, I imagine these two were added to the story well, maybe they were always intended to be characters you played as in the final level, but their status as protagonists was added last. They simply exist as a way to bridge all these levels together. They arrive at the space station that the TimeSplitters are using to destroy history with, using their time crystals. Sergeant Cortez and Corporal Hart, if you're playing two-player, jump through the time portal, and when he arrives in the time period, he morphs into the character from that time. This is only ever shown in the first mission. I say this had to be added last because every other story mission just has the character and no implications that this is actually Sergeant Cortez. Like I said, first mission shows Sergeant Cortez turn into this Russian lady, and he is well aware that he's not actually the Russian lady. Then the next mission, you play as Sergeant Cortez, as Jake Fenton, a hard-boiled 1930s cop run out of town by Big Tony. Now he's back in Chicago to get revenge on Big Tony and his gang without the pesky law holding him back. Why the fuck would Sergeant Cortez care about any of this? If this was Sergeant Cortez in Jake Fenton's body, he wouldn't care about revenge and destroying Big Tony's business. He'd just go in, kill Big Tony simply for being in the way, and grabbing that time crystal and going on his merry way. By the time you get to the halfway point of the game, you completely forget that Cortez morphing into these characters until they make another cutscene that seems to shoehorn Cortez and Hart into the story again, just because Free Radical must have forgotten they were here too. But enough griping about these two. First level is Siberia. Oh look, it starts at a dam, literally because it's a reference to GoldenEye. Fuck me for not playing GoldenEye, eh? This level's cool. You can either be stealthy, or fuck it, you've got strong aim assist in this game. You can do this the quick way. Then of course the Chicago level I mentioned. I'm always a fan of Prohibition era entertainment, so of course I love the idea of playing as a hard-boiled cop out for revenge in the streets of 1930 Chicago with a Tommy gun. I love the confrontation with Big Tony, mostly because it just plays out like this.
What are you doing in my...
See, this is the only part of this level that feels like Sergeant Cortez going through all this. Notre Dame. This level is sick. There's these zombies, these skeleton priests with guns. The Hunchback of Notre Dame actually comes out of nowhere with a shotgun to help you protect this maiden. Yeah, Hunchback got this chick right here. You can get a baddie like this too. You fight a kaiju and have a very anticlimactic battle with... I'm just gonna call him Jack, because that's all I can say of his name before he succumbs to my shotgun blasts. Return to Planet X. God damn, I can't wait to play as legendary Sebastian Proton once again. Who the hell is this guy? But this level has a soundtrack that's so stupid and bad that it circles around and becomes a cool track that I immediately think of whenever TimeSplitters is mentioned. Also, there's a big race war going on. According to TimeSplitters 3, they both wipe each other out. Neo Tokyo, taking place in the far-off year of 2019. I sucked at this level as a kid since it requires stealth for the first few minutes, and of course, if you've seen any of my videos before, you would know I hated stealth when I was a kid. Young stupid, Eddie, would have been amazed to see how fast I can get through this level these days. You know, I'm kinda a stickler. I really like 1930s Prohibition era entertainment and old westerns. If only there was a property out there that would combine these two genres. Holy fucking shit, this is why I love TimeSplitters 2 so much. Wild West. Really goes to show just how bad the old CRT TV I was using as a kid was. I thought Elijah Jones was white when I was a kid. Turns out I was today years old when I learned that each game has a Jones in a different time period. That's cool. In this level, this little western town has been taken over by the evil Colonel. The Colonel has framed the law woman and had her locked up and took over. But Elijah Jones is here to save the town. There's a big battle with the Colonel and he's dead already. Atom Smasher, aka Look Out World, here comes Harry Tipper. If they decided to never make Cortez and Corporal Hart, I'd be down for making Harry Tipper the protagonist of TimeSplitters. He's the definition of cool. Look at that mustache! Though I have a bone to pick with Harry Tipper. How come in 1969 he's a James Bond-esque super spy? Again, fuck me for not playing GoldenEye, eh? Then in 1970, he's just a normal-ass cop. Then in 1972, he's back to being a James Bond-esque super spy. He stopped World War III in 1969. How in the hell did he get a massive demotion within a year? And how the hell did he get back to being a spy? But yeah, Harry Tipper's cool. This time around, we gotta stop Kalos. Harry Tipper is worst enemy and he's dead too. Aztec Rules. Hold the phone. It's Captain Ash. He's also a great contender for potential protagonist if Free Radical didn't watch Pitch Black and go, holy shit, we have a protagonist. This level never stood out to me though. Robot Factory. Another level for me. Space Station, the final level. The one where we finally get to play as Sergeant Cortez and Corporal Hart in all their glory. I mean, Sergeant Cortez in all of his glory. For the final mission, it's kind of underwhelming. Granted, every boss battle in this game also falls under the category of underwhelming, but the fact that the final mission of TimeSplitters 2 is just Cortez making an escape. Though, I haven't played this in a while, and I kind of fucked up here. forgetting to grab an environment suit before going out the airlock. Just like the first game, TimeSplitters 2 adds more objectives you play on harder difficulties. Now luckily, TimeSplitters 2 NPCs aren't exactly amazingly difficult, so I'll gladly play on harder difficulties, which is the preferred way to play some of these levels since some of them are really short without these extra objectives. Take Return to Planet X for example. That was Return to Planet X. But of course, who plays TimeSplitters 2 for its story? Besides me. That's right, we all know why we're here. Multiplayer. Boy, this whole setup right here looks a lot like GoldenEye, but of course, I didn't play that game. Fuck me, right? Only downside of this game right now is no online multiplayer. If only I had some friends to play this with in split screen mode, but I'm an adult, I don't have friends, I just have dudes I drink with. So unfortunately, I'm going to be playing with bots the entire time. But goddamn, is playing this game with bots fun as all hell. So of course, there's Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch. This is for the people whose favorite ice cream is vanilla. This is fun though, play in the Wild West with a minigun. You see, that's the gimmick of TimeSplitters. Didn't talk about it too much within the first game, but you can play multiplayer with weapons that don't fit in the era. Of course, after talking about how great the characters in story mode are, I gotta play as the gingerbread man. Yeah, that's what I love about TimeSplitters. The characters are so superfluous since the statistical difference between them are so superficial that you don't pick one character because he's the meta, but you just pick who you really think is cool or silly. Hell, you can even turn off character stats, so who cares? But that being said, Free Radical never needed to go this hard with these characters. You got serious and cool characters like Cortez, Hart, Harry Tipper, and all the other characters I've mentioned before, but then there's silly guys like the Snowman, Duckman Drake, and of course, Gingerbread Man. Only problem with TimeSplitters 2's roster is the amount of random military personnel. I get it, they wanted to be able to brag and say, hey, every character you meet in the story mode is playable in multiplayer. But come on, even people that would choose these guys over anyone more interesting wouldn't need this many choices, but I mean, I guess I don't have to say how the enemy types in the story are repetitive though. There's well over 100 characters to unlock and I'm not going through the trouble of unlocking them all. The starting roster in this game is fucking pathetic. It's the stars from story mode followed by said military personnel. No one that decides to play this game after finding this video shouldn't feel pressured to unlock them all because the challenges can be grueling as all hell, especially since playing only the easiest challenges will unlock you a good amount of the sillier characters. Well, that was a tangent. Anyways, there's Capture the Bag, which is just capture the flag. I'm not talking about it much, but trust me, this is my preferred game mode with friends, when I had them. Then there's Bag Tag. You grab the bag and tag this and try to survive as long as humanly possible. Elimination is fucking sick. I mean, it's just deathmatch, but now you have lives. Again, it's the fast-paced gameplay that saves it. Shrink. It's like deathmatch, but if you're losing, you shrink, making it harder for people to shoot you. I'm not a fan of this. Actually, I kinda realized that I'm not too crazy about most of the game modes. Vampire. You keep killing or you die. It's nice. Leech. This is probably the first time I've played this since the early 2000s, and I realized that I actually kinda like this game mode. You damage people and gain health back. It leads to stupid situations like this. Regeneration. You gain health back over time. Leech is better. Thief. You win by grabbing tokens off people you kill. Not bad, just pick the bad weapon assortment for this mode. But Gladiator is fucking awesome. One player becomes a gladiator and only they can score by killing. The second you kill them, you become the gladiator, people target you, and it's just a fun mode. Especially when you just grab these dual Tommy guns and just spitfire everywhere. Assault. So this has you doing objectives. In TimeSplitters 2, you can only attack. In 3, you can defend and attack. But in this one, it's only attacking. I liked this one a lot when I was younger, but as an adult I realized that this isn't as fun as I used to think it was, because there's so few maps you can play Assault on. Then there's Monkey Assistant. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, monkeys. There were always some silly characters in the series. Duckman Drake, Robofish, hell, even Gingerbread Man has been there since the beginning. But in TimeSplitters 2, monkey. Of course, this is because monkeys, especially back in the 2000s, were just the easiest punchline. Give the monkey a minigun and maximum silliness is achieved. I bring this up because TimeSplitters would soon go all in on the monkey motif later down the line. But yeah, monkey assistant. Whoever's in first place gets attacked by monkeys. Again, that silliness meter just jumped up 3 whole notches. But I had to save my favorites for last. First, there's Virus. In this one mode, one person is on fire and has to infect the rest of the lobby. This is awesome. Around the time I got TimeSplitters, I was really starting to put my big boy pants on and start enjoying horror-themed media. Mostly horror movies, as while I had played a few horror games, sometimes they'd get the best of me. So Virus was what I needed to scratch that itch before I was brave enough to tackle Silent Hill. I still haven't played Silent Hill, and judging by these prices, I never will. Then of course, Flame Tag. Though this isn't as fun without friends, as you need someone in the room with you, or if the game had online multiplayer, just so you'll have someone to share reactions with. But even with NPCs, it's still fun, I guess. One person is on fire, and it's a game of tag, except you're armed to the teeth. Yeah, back when my friends would play, we'd turn off weapons so we can't fight back, only run. Especially since sometimes killing the person who's on fire can backfire quite easily. Well, that's TimeSplitters 2 in a nutshell. I would talk about the challenges, but honestly, mad respect for anyone who has gotten gold or platinum on all of these. Some of these are just downright brutal. Again, like I said, you only have to play through the easy challenges to get some decent unlockables. Continue to keep playing if you're a fucking masochist. Now, I love TimeSplitters 2. I really do wish I had the nostalgic attachment to the original game, but alas. But TimeSplitters 2, this game requires a little bit of effort to get back into since it's aged so much, but it's so worth it once you get into this mindset. I love this bitch. I love it so much. Everything just feels so satisfying when you're in the game. Hell, I love how to make it look flashier, they gave the NPCs the ability to dodge and flip out of the way. I remember my friends would always be complaining about the NPCs and how they can do that, but you can't. But I always brought up how it kind of evens itself out when NPCs get stunned like when you shoot them, but when you take a shot, you're like the T-1000 for the Terminator. Honestly, after playing all of this, I can't help but feel like I finally need to play GoldenEye. After all, I've been playing its spiritual successor for decades now. I gotta test it out for myself. Oh, 1 second, I just got a phone call. Oh my god. My Uncle Joe just died. I don't have my original GameCube copy anymore. It didn't disappear like the rest of my GameCube games and, regrettably, my copy of TimeSplitters 3. I instead gave my copy to my best friend when he moved across the country to follow his dreams of being a game developer. He gave up on that dream. At one of his jobs, they had consoles hooked up in the break room for people to play on their breaks. Of course, people brought in multiplayer games all the time, so my friend brought in my copy of TimeSplitters 2, and on day 1 of it being there, someone went, "Oh shit, is that TimeSplitters?" And that GameCube became the most used console at work from then on out. I just always liked hearing about that because it really reaffirms my comment about TimeSplitters being such a beloved game to just about anyone who has actually played it in the past. Hey, wait a minute. I've never asked my friend if he took that copy back before he quit that job. Ah, 2005. It's 20 years ago. Shut the fuck up. This was the year I found my new favorite video game, TimeSplitters Future Perfect. So some backstory. Remember my friends who were spoiled and got an Xbox the day they found out Mortal Kombat Deception was going to skip the GameCube? Well, funnily enough, 2004 was the year we spent as little time playing video games together as humanly possible, just because their mom was turning into one of those moms that go, "Kids don't play outside anymore," and freak out about her kids playing video games. Lady, you bought those video games for those kids. You literally bought every game they asked for. You are to blame for your own complaints. But I digress. Because of this, I hardly ever got to see that fancy new Xbox I got. Like I said, there was no way in hell I was going to be able to get my parents to buy me an Xbox, so when I heard that Mortal Kombat Deception would be coming to the GameCube a few months later, that's where I set my goalposts. Easter 2005 was when I saw that copy of Mortal Kombat Deception in my Easter basket. I played it for a few hours, and the next day, I went outside to play with my friends, and it was like, "Yo, I got Mortal Kombat Deception for GameCube yesterday." To which my spoiled friend said, "Oh, that's cool. We already boarded that game. We just got TimeSplitters 3. And I just sat there and I said, "TimeSplitters what?" Later that day, my mom dragged us to Target. She had heard some good things about that Incredibles movie that I didn't get to see when it was in theaters because I broke both my legs, and that's a story for another day, so she bought it there. Then came the fabled moment when my mother would ask me what game I'm looking at, despite just getting Mortal Kombat Deception just the day before. I took advantage of this and skimmed the video game section and I found it. TimeSplitters Future Perfect. Mortal Kombat Deception on Easter Sunday, TimeSplitters Future Perfect the day after. For once, I knew what it felt like to be the spoiled kid. I took it home, played it for several hours, and it was amazing. I loved every second of it. Of course, when I went to go hang out with my friends and told them the good news, they decided to brag and say, "Oh, we should play online sometimes. Oh, wait, you only have it for the GameCube." And at that moment, I'm actually glad they moved away later that year. Fuck them. Okay, so I will address the only actual complaint I have about TimeSplitters 3. It has no new arcade modes, which is silly because I feel like they could have easily made some new game modes that would have been more exciting. In fact, this game has removed some game modes, those game modes being Leech and Regeneration, which I've already said that I wasn't a big fan of, and they weren't very impressive. I mean, I thought Leech was fun just because of this bullshit. Oh, and they removed Flame Tag. And that's where I draw the goddamn line. Who am I kidding? I don't have any friends to play this mode with anymore. No, fuck that. This still would have been cool to play online. You know, it wasn't until I started writing this that I realized that Flame Tag wasn't the most important aspect of my life. But it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt that Flame Tag got the axe. The multiplayer to me is the best of the series. To me, nothing is more fun than running and gunning in this game. No joke, when I was in high school, aka the days when everyone was playing Call of Duty, except for me, when I would hang out with some of my new high school friends, I would whip out TimeSplitters 3, and get this, the guys actually loved it. They weren't big fans of how TimeSplitters 2 played, but the fact that they loved TimeSplitters 3 is a goddamn miracle because again, this was during the Call of Duty golden years, and you can't even jump in TimeSplitters. One of my favorite things in multiplayer is when you find your favorite gun. Mine is the Soviet rifle. Why? Because honestly, it's kind of broken. Despite the game having more refined FPS controls over the first two, it's still on console, so there's some aim assist. This makes the Soviet rifle absolutely decimating from long range. Just point in the general direction of those pixels and rack up some kills. I guess I only like it because I only ever play as bots with some friends. If I actually had this game back in the OG Xbox Live days, if only, I'd probably get pissed off when that one guy in the lobby gets the Soviet rifle and picks you off with ease. But goddamn, this gun is so satisfying to use. Hey, speaking of Soviet, Siberia. This is my favorite map. Whenever I play with my best friend in this game, I don't think there's any other maps we play on. Whether it be for the Jeep that was probably added because Free Radical said, "Yo, the Warthog in Halo is pretty cool," or the fact you can do just about anything here. Close quarter combat, sniping, and then of course, the majority of the map is just this big, wide open area that's good for any variety of matches. Again, Soviet rifles, baseball bat battles, landmine combat, or of course, flare guns. When my friends and I would play this map, we'd play our own little side game of King of the Hill. One guy would take over this hill area that has this little structure here and defend this home from attackers. Of course, it adds some fun because, there's a max damage power up in there, and boy, I wish you could still play this online. Only downside with Siberia, you can't play Virus on it, which to be fair, this is a very open map and of course, Jeep. But of course, there's more maps to explore. Mexican Mission. I just realized I never actually talked about the maps. But there are 3 returning maps. Training Grounds, aka the map I didn't talk about, Mexican Mission that I've made passing comments about, and Chinese. It's a Chinese restaurant, but it's just simply called Chinese. A map I haven't talked about 3 times. Apparently this map is so good that it needed to be in the only map to appear in all 3 games. Okay, you know what? I get it now. So there's one major downside to TimeSplitters 3. Some of the maps aren't great. Now, obviously, I'm not going to talk about the three I just mentioned before, because they are all stellar. Vietnam. Do you think Vietnam veterans will start having terrible flashbacks if they see me playing this map with a laser rifle? Fun times to be ahead here until the trees start speaking Vietnamese. The hotel. Actually pretty solid. I feel like I should have played this level more often growing up. Oh baby, Venice. I'm a sucker for maps with hazards in them. Even without the hazards, it's still fun. The temple. The Big Tipper, baby. Now this is a great map. Fantastic shootouts in a nightclub to disco. Subway. The best part about this map is causing the trains to run over the other players. However, actually getting to the console when there's other players on the tracks at the moment is rare, so I don't play it often. But Zeppelin is great. Fall to your death, accidentally, or accidentally walk into the propellers. Oh, and besides the hazards, it's just a fun place to fight. Mars Prison. I only like this map in Assault. Bunker VR and Spaceport are the only maps I have zero opinion on. Maybe I could find myself playing Bunker later, but I never liked VR or Spaceport at all. And those are the maps. Yeah. Speaking of multiplayer, they brought back character gestures from the first game. No longer do you just see the characters rotating around, waiting for you to pick them like in the second game. No, now you get this, and honestly, let me finish unlocking all the characters and I'll make a video of me just reacting to these because at least 80% of them are great. Speaking of characters, there are now 4 monkeys. God help us all. But the gingerbread man is unlocked from the start. Now he's a right for the common folk and not a privilege.
Bite my crunchy brown ass.
But of course, if we're going to talk about TimeSplitters 3, we're going to have to talk about the most divisive feature. Story mode. I say it's divisive because I was under the impression that it was the saving grace of this game, but apparently there are people that don't like it. But like I said, until I started doing research for this video, I was under the impression that it's the best thing ever. So let's take a quick look at it. Alright, so 3 games in, and they decide to throw an actual narrative at us. In fact, this story proves my point about Cortez and Hart being added just to connect all these random story bits, because when Cortez travels through time, he just ends up in that time period. As himself. No more Cortez pretending to be Captain Ash. Now he gets to fight alongside Captain Ash. Unless Anya, Cortez's handler as she communicates him as he travels time, somehow found a way to change the very fabric of time travel to allow Cortez to just go back as himself. Okay, let's just chalk this up to Free Radical made this up as they went along, because every time they made a new TimeSplitters game, a sequel wasn't guaranteed, so they didn't think they'd actually have to come up with an actual narrative structure 5 years from now. There, after chalking it up to that, it finally makes sense and there are no plot holes at all. First level, Time to Split. Sergeant Cortez returns to Earth with the time crystals, and it's one of those futures where the world just turns into a desert because those time splitters are just that bad. Now, I am a firm believer of making sure that the first level of a game should sell said game. After all, I've seen the statistics of trophies and achievements on PlayStation and Xbox, and I see that most people get the first few story-based achievements and give up shortly after. Unfortunately, if TimeSplitters 3 had achievements, I guarantee you'd only see a small percentage of players beating the first level. It doesn't have much to offer. A few movie references here, a reference to Corporal Hart here, rest in peace. And I guess you'll get some enjoyment out of this if you really like segments where you can just mount a turret and rip through hordes of enemies. It literally just exists to show us a glimpse of what this TimeSplitters war actually looks like. Because, you know, 3 games in and, yeah, finally getting a narrative. Ooh, an ominous man in the distance. Surely this will make sense later.
All right. Find the crystals and destroy the lot. How hard could it be?
He's right, I'm sure it's a cakewalk. But of course, it's easy to forgive that level for being so underwhelming since the real meat and potatoes of the story involves, you know, time travel. Scotland the Brave is where we get to fight alongside the great Captain Ash. So the context here is, in an attempt to stop the TimeSplitters war, Anya has been trying to track the time travel residue. Hey, stop laughing and just listen to me, dammit. This is important information you need to know. And she's doing that so she can try and find the source of the time crystals. That leads us to Scotland, 1924. So now, you're attacking this island in an attempt to find those time crystals and, oh, shot that guy in the balls. How embarrassing. Now this is why I like TimeSplitters 3's story. The first two games don't have fun with the time travel aspect. TimeSplitters 3? Well, in story mode, you hit these wormholes where you meet up with the future versions of yourself where they'll help you out in some way or another. Then later in the level, oh looky that, you are the future self and now you have to help out your past self. Also, in this level we're introduced to the drunk henchman. Nearly every level includes some guy drunk off his ass. So I make it a point to kill them. But of course in this level, we get a glimpse of our antagonist. He shows up here, and then at the end we get a reveal that he has his own time machine. I'm sure his plan isn't convoluted at all. Level 3 is the Russian connection and that's where we get Harry Tipper, baby! So I'll just say, the humor in this game is a tad juvenile. That's okay, because as much as I like to pretend I'm mature, if you have a really great fart joke, I'll laugh my ass off at it. I mentioned the humor because while Harry didn't get much dialogue in the past games, he most certainly wasn't anything like this. Harry Tipper is a real 60s cat. Lots of mans and woes, far outs and groovies, and I imagine most people would get tired of listening to him talk after the first line of dialogue.
Oh no. Hostages. I hate hostages, man. Whining on about needing rescue, it takes all the fun out of the job. Sometimes I hate being the good guy.
Not me though. I would make Harry Tipper the sole benefactor of my will if I could. In the first two games, you didn't get to see much characterization for Harry because you had to play as him, but now you get to play alongside him and see that they go all in on the James Bond-esque super spy angle. Hell, 30 seconds into the level, Harry reveals he has laser glasses. So in this level, we find out our dear friend Kalos, in case you don't remember who he is, he's that guy, is plotting World War III because again, he's meant to be a parody of Blofeld from James Bond. Again, fuck me! While that's going on, the mystery antagonist is working with Kalos to get access to Kalos' near infinite number of goons to help him with his plans in the 1920s. This level works so well for me. You get an optional stealth sequence at the beginning which I actually do every time. Weird, right? The guy who hates stealth gladly does the stealth? Before easing you into the machine gun spraying and praying combat style the rest of the level goes through. Oh fuck, another drunkie! Then you and Harry have to put on disguises and haha, it's funny because Harry's the ladies' man, now he has to wear a dress because it's the only disguise in his size. I thought it was just hilarious as a kid, but as an adult I can just say that Harry rocks the shit out of that dress. But of course this level gives me my favorite gun, the Soviet rifle. Time to kill everyone standing in my way. Level 4, the Kalos Express. Oomph, I love this level so much. Just you and Harry Tipper fighting from the back car to the front of this train. So action-packed. Also has some hazards. I practically have this level memorized from all the times I played it. Playing it for the first time in years, and I have no problem getting through it. Even if it wasn't my first time, it's still just a straightforward level to play. Also, this is the first time the wormhole plays an actual role in the gameplay and not just cutscenes. In this level, you gotta fight alongside future Cortez to take out this helicopter. Easy enough, whether you're past or future Cortez.
Wow, this is such a guy's room.
Girls like guns too, Anya, get with the program. The level only gets better when you get to dual-wield machine guns, and goddamn I love TimeSplitters. Whoop, another drunk. After this, you fall into a James Bond-esque trap. Again, I think it's a James Bond-esque trap, because I have lost too many people to James Bond to actually try and get the reference here. This is my favorite part though, trapping these henchwomen in the gas. I need help. So now we have to deactivate Kalos' nuclear missile, which, first, let's see Harry's plan on stopping it.
This panel comes off. Maybe if I pull out these wires.
Are you sure he should be doing that?
Whoa!
Great effort, Harry. So I did this puzzle and it was actually glitched, as the parts of the circuit I'm supposed to connect to are supposed to be glowing, but they did not glow here. Really goes to show how much I've memorized. Now we get another showdown with Kalos. This one lasts a little longer than the one in TimeSplitters 2. By the way, here's what Kalos' revenge in TimeSplitters 2 looks like. Next level goes full on horror, and should I censor those? Here, you're in this mansion in 1994 with this girl named Jo Beth Casey. She was in TimeSplitters 2, and I think we can legally call these two the same character. I like this because we're immediately greeted by ghosts and zombies, and no one here is skeptical about it. Jo Beth and Anya don't even try to come up with excuses for this. It's just, oh fuck, those are zombies, they're real. Ghosts too? Jeepers. If I have any gripes with this level, sometimes it feels like getting actual headshots on these zombies is a matter of RNG. Like, you can aim at the head all you want, but whether the head comes off or not is up to the game and not up to you. Also, for some stupid reason, they gave some zombies shotguns. Okay, they gave a lot of zombies shotguns. Well, of all the drunks I've found so far, this guy is the most justified to be absolutely shit-faced. He's still gonna die though. Then you gotta fight Princess and, well, I mean, I guess we gotta have at least one kaiju battle here. I honestly always thought I liked this level a lot more growing up. But then I realized that the amount of zombies with shotguns were annoying, and I didn't like playing it that much. What lies below is the next level, where you're below the mansion, obviously, but luckily not one zombie has a shotgun in this. There's a few electric ones though, that's kind of fucked up. Just a lot of zombies doing what zombies do best. Then, Jo Beth gets captured. First out of 2 times in this level.
This reminds me of prom night.
I'll be honest, I don't even know how to follow that. So I'll just torture the scientist who locked himself in this experimentation room. You stupid bitch. Also, another drunk's gotta die. So this is where we meet our younger rendition of the mystery antagonist, who captures Jo Beth once again. But in return, you get to ride in this cool minecart. After making zombies explode with a single shotgun blast, you meet with future Cortez, who has a ghost gun. Now you gotta protect him from zombies while he protects you from ghosts.
I'm always amazed the universe will tolerate the two of you together like this.
Oh, don't worry, Anya, it's only gonna get worse from here. Okay, now, your future Cortez fighting ghosts, while past Cortez fights zombies and does a bad job at it. Okay, now you're fighting Princess in round 2, and now we get 2 movie references in 20 seconds, Temple of Doom and Jaws. Now we get to the mystery antagonist's office and find out his name is Jacob Crow, and oh look, a Jurassic Park reference, yippee skippy. Now we get to see the 2 Jacob Crows teaming up. Well, looks like Cortez is finally realizing that nobody likes his catchphrase.
I gotta go.
But, oh well, too old for me anyway.
It is the year 2052. Maybe I'm still making YouTube videos by then, so I can make a comment about how far off into the future it is. You are breaking into Future Crow's company called... if I was monetized, I'm pretty sure this would get me demonetized if I said that out loud. This level is cool because you get a few guns, like the mag charger, which in multiplayer can be used to shoot through some walls. In single player, it's just used to take out cameras and security systems. Can I just say, after all these levels, that this game has the most satisfying shooting people in the back of the head with a silenced pistol mechanic I've ever seen? Then of course, there is the SBP-500, which is just a very satisfying machine gun to use. Look at this! Then of course, time disruption grenades. Not available in multiplayer, of course, for some stupid fucking reason.
Every time I try to work late, something goes wrong.
Man, this would probably be a war crime if I wasn't a time traveler. Of course, since this is a game where you can open stalls in a bathroom, I know there's gotta be a drunk in here. Yep, there he is. Then in a first for this game, we finally meet our partner more than halfway through the level. Actually, probably at the very end of the level, Amy Chen. She's a super cool, kick-ass super spy who gets a few scenes where she just absolutely destroys these guys with her knife. You get like one scene with her before the end of the level. Also, who doesn't like awkward elevator scenes? I know I love them.
So, been with the agency long?
Yeah. 3 years in May.
You get dental?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah! Time to split!
I'll get the next one.
Next level, you genius, again, I don't want to say that. Yeah, fuck you, Crow. You get another disguise sequence just to add a few more characters to the multiplayer mode. Well, I feel like that's what you get when you willingly apply to join a company that sounds suspiciously like something YouTube wouldn't let any of us say. Yeah, in this level, you get the SBP 500 pretty early, so you just get to run and gun the fuck out of this level. Again, sorry bro, you willingly worked for Crow, you don't get out of this the easy way. Halfway through, you get to the part with the mutants, where it's very clear that this was Crow's first attempt at making TimeSplitters. They explode with one shot from this serum. It looks like Free Radical was just really proud of their body exploding physics and made an entire level revolving around it. Viewer discretion is advised. Oh hell yeah, more torture. Unfortunately, I never found the drunk guy in this level. However, here is the best use of the wormhole mechanic of this game. Okay, so first, you have to hack this terminal. The password is banana, while Future Cortez fights off the security system. Then when you find out each terminal has to be hacked at the same time, that password is lollipop.
Sweet.
So as a second Future Cortez enters the room, the maximum occupancy of the room has been reached, upgrading the force of the security system, so then a third Future Cortez has to join in and help the one Future Cortez that's dealing with the security. I could never get past this part as a kid, so I played it on co-op, which will just skip this sequence, but now I can play it just fine. Then you become the Future Cortez, fighting off the robots, and after doing that twice, you become another Future Cortez that has to hack the other terminal. Then you become the fourth Future Cortez by being the Cortez that helps the other Cortez fight the robots. Great sequence all in all. Really makes the part where you fight Crow's drones a lot more underwhelming. But it's all worth it when we get my favorite cutscene after Cortez inadvertently tells this Crow, who hasn't time traveled yet, his own plans for immortality and taking over the world, resulting in this Crow having a very quick getaway when he gets his own time machine.
Don't be alarmed. It's me, your younger self. I've come from the past to give you this time device. You must take it and...
I think I know the rest. Ah, well, okay then. It's the red button. Ta-ta! I'm off to live forever!
Damn it!
Spaceman!
Ah, good old Harry Tipper. Good to see him one last time. After discovering that one of Crow's drones resembles a robot that was used in the Machine Wars of 2243, long story, they discover that the company that eventually made the robots used in the Machine Wars is owned by Crow, who traveled into the far-off future to continue his work with more advanced technology. So off to the future where Cortez hacks R110 and, wow, never noticed that while playing this on my old CRT. You're of course joined by the Resistance led by, oh hey, it's Elijah Jones's descendant, Mordecai Jones. Told you, there's a Jones in every TimeSplitters game. Now you get to run around shooting robots with plasma weapons, and it's unironically better than any Terminator movie that takes place after Judgment Day. Oh look, honestly, the most boring Future Cortez sequence. But again, after the last level, it's hard to top that. Another drunk! You're no use to the Resistance when you're inebriated. But seriously though, if you think any other levels where you just get to run and gun it are fun, you'll have a blast with this one. Now you gotta do the Future Cortez sequence again, and it's even more boring now. But at least you get R110 back, as Future Cortez took him. Now you get the minigun. If you were having fun before, it's only better now because I've never seen a man frown when using a minigun. Next level, you're fighting through Ultranet, the Crow's company. I never found the drunk guy in this level. Here, R110 gets infected with a virus that gives him a personality. When you find out the facility is housing the TimeSplitters army, you realize that this is the opportunity you've been waiting for. Probably not for too long since, again, first game with a narrative, where you get to destroy the TimeSplitters before they're ever unleashed. Well, that's over and done with. Who wants champagne? Oh, it's not over. You have to fight this big-ass monster, whose face is hidden and has a very familiar voice. Well, obviously it's Captain Ash. Boss fight is easy. Just shoot the big glowy things that the game is actively telling you to shoot. Boom, it's dead. Oh, fuck you, R110. You abandoned me only to finally show up at the end. Oh, boom, the monster isn't dead. Oh, boom, again. It's actually Crow, who turned himself into a weird time splitter. Now, of course, after all is said and done, I like to be able to say that Crow's plan is pretty good. But it's not. If there's anything I can give this story shit for, it's that Crow's plan is stupid. You wanted to live forever and turned yourself into a stupid looking monster where I can't imagine immortality would be worth having to live like that, while also trying to wipe out humanity to replace them with all time splitters. I get it, they tried to explore the origin of the time splitters and all, but this is stupid. The villain's motivation is stupid. Mom, Jacob Crow's a horrible villain. So Cortez goes all the way back to 1924, realizing that if they go even further below the island, that they can probably find the origin of the time crystals and stop Crow from ever getting them. This level's fun. We get this fun intro with R110 and Cortez. We get that sick as hell SMG from the second level again. Now you get to dual wield them. And honestly, I like the whole vibe of this underground city Crow had been constructed with Callus's men. Is that a steampunk robot? Wicked! Jesus, fuck R110. When you're actually running through the city at the end, just blasting Crow's goons, it's just such a satisfying feeling. I mean, damn, at least Free Radical knows how to bring a campaign to a satisfying end. Oh, another drunk. Well, I'm not getting that harpoon back, am I? At the end of the level, you find out that the time assassins from the first level are these guys who went in time to stop Cortez from ever interrupting Crow's plans. And also, that Cortez was Mr. Space. Okay. Which also means that Cortez was actually there in the first level, protecting past Cortez the entire time. Speaking of, second to last level is literally just that. It's the first level. But you're on the cliffsides the entire time, watching past Cortez running through it. Did I really look that boring running through the first level? Either way, it's not too exciting since it's just the first level again, but I'll give it points just because it finds a way of bringing things back around. Ah, the last drunk guy. So worth it. The big set piece of this level is that you're the guy who ended up destroying the TimeSplitters mothership from the first level, even though continuity is fucked because the bridge this gun turret was on was destroyed before the mothership went down in the first level. Damn it, Free Radical! Though, this level does have my favorite moment in it. Such an oddly sweet moment for Anya.
There's the base. Just think, I'm in there.
So now we're finally in the final level. Future Perfect. I agree, nice picture. Anyways, time for the slaughter. There's not a lot in this level. You kill a few guys, grab the time crystals, whoop whoop. It seems like this is going to be easy. Whoop whoop.
I can hardly believe it. After all we've been through, it's finally going to end.
Wait, is that boss music? Yep, you're fighting Crow again, and it's a lot easier and... Oh god, I need to censor that. Anyways, this fight will be simple. There's less things for you to have to shoot on Crow than the last fight, so I think this will...
Wanted to be loved. Damn it!
R110, no! He was too pure for this world. Just when all hope seems to be lost, Anya sends Cortez in time, so now he gets to make his own paradox where he fights alongside past Cortez and R110 again, and now we fight Crow again, for reals this time, and now Crow is dead, for reals this time. Oh look, another movie reference. Well, if you're gonna die, might as well go out referencing one of the greats. Cortez destroys the time crystals, returns to the future, and everything caused by a time splitters war is reset. With the time machines disappearing, the world suddenly not being a desert anymore. R110, no!
You're my hero.
I know. It's what I do.
I like to think that they dated for a week and a half after this scene, but Anya broke up with Cortez because he shouted, "Time to split!" in bed. And that's TimeSplitters 3. Honestly, TimeSplitters Future Perfect may very well be my favorite game of all time. I really do need to sit down and actually categorize my favorite games list because it's kind of silly. Here, just to give you a hint at a later video, the original Dead Rising is on this list. It honestly made me very excited to try out TimeSplitters 4, which I still haven't played yet. I guess I'll just scour eBay for a copy right now. So, TimeSplitters 4 doesn't exist. I remember it being announced in 2007 and seeing more promo material they made of it, mostly just monkeys being used to parody other big games on the market at the time. Oh, and JoBeth Casey being dressed up as a nun to advertise it. But apparently, TimeSplitters 3 just didn't make enough money to warrant a sequel. Which is fucking weird. How can such a quality product be a financial failure? Now, shut up before you start listing examples of quality financial failures while I get to the bottom of TimeSplitters Future Perfect's underperformance. You see, I always thought the "don't judge a book by its cover" phrase was bullshit. Consumers always judge books by their covers, so I'm going to analyze the TimeSplitters Future Perfect box art to see if I can find out why it failed. Alright, so no exclusives to PS2 logos anywhere on here. Multi-platforms always do better. The title, TimeSplitters Future Perfect, is a classic. This helps consumers because if they called it TimeSplitters 3, there'd be consumers who never played a TimeSplitters game who would avoid it because they never played the first two. Look at the box art. It's just so generic that it makes anyone look at it and go, okay, I get it, while also looking really cool. I mean, come on, Sergeant Cortez firing into this time portal and bullets being shot back out at him? What's not to get here? If I never played this game, I'd want to know what's going on with this time portal and shit. Oh look, rated M for mature. First two games were rated T, but as you saw from the footage, there were some considered blood splatters used throughout. This was during the M-rated renaissance where just about every other game was getting plastered with this rating. Okay, I don't get it. I've looked over this entire box art and haven't found one reason for this game underperforming. Well, I mean, I could just move the camera down here and... Well, that explains everything. EA, where good things go to die. So I can't find the reasoning for why Free Radical didn't get Eidos to publish this game, but all I can assume is TimeSplitters 2 made some good ass money, but game development was getting more expensive. But on the same hand, the market for games were getting bigger and bigger. Honestly, look at the biggest games from this era. Do you honestly believe that there wasn't a chance for TimeSplitters to be one of those successful games? So naturally, going with the biggest publisher in the world sounded like a smart move. Now unfortunately, this is EA. Making videos talking about EA sabotaging the development of the countless games they've published has become its own genre of video. But apparently, it had nothing to do with the development. Naturally, anyone who works with EA loves to give the inside scoop, but the people on TimeSplitters don't have the same stories. Again, this was 2005 EA. This was when they still had a few good games out that weren't horribly fucked with. EA didn't become the worst company in the world until a few years later. If anything, EA's leadership helped Free Radical with development, helping structure the project and put the pieces together. However, when it came to marketing, oh boy, in the creator of the series' own words, David Doak. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but in his own words, he said EA came to him and said, "Your game's really good, but unfortunately, we've got another game which has turned out to not be as good as we thought it was going to be, and we need to support it with the marketing money." And what was that game, you might ask? GoldenEye Rogue Agent. Ain't that a bitch? As I alluded to earlier, I had no idea a TimeSplitters 3 existed. Now this is when I was just starting to really get into using the time I had on the internet back then to start looking up information on games and movies I was interested in. Not once did I ever see anything about TimeSplitters 3. It was killed in the marketing phase. All my friends I played TimeSplitters 2 with had no idea it existed until I got a copy. It's only as I started writing the script that I decided to look up when Easter 2005 was. That was March 27th, so that means March 28th is when I got TimeSplitters 3. TimeSplitters 3 released on March 22nd. So I can only assume that my friends who told me that the game existed were just doing their usual shit, where they just go to the store looking to pick out whatever game catches their attention when they just so happen to notice a new TimeSplitters. On the same note, I can only assume that I was able to own a copy of this game because I caught it so early, as I imagine once these sold out, Target wasn't exactly going to make another order for copies. Free Radical didn't give up on TimeSplitters though. Luckily, they own the IP, so they didn't have to worry about EA sitting there saying, hey, we might have doomed your entire franchise, but it's our IP now. No taking this to other publishers. And it's apparent that when the Halo 3 and Call of Duty train started rolling, it was their time to try and bring the series back. Looking back at information, it turns out TimeSplitters 4 was going to be a PlayStation 3 exclusive. Holy shit, TimeSplitters 4 never had a chance. Maybe if it was a 2011 to 2013 era PS3 game it would have worked, but this was 2007, where the PS3 was practically just a toxic waste dump. Unfortunately, despite Free Radical coming out of the woodwork every few years to tell us that TimeSplitters 4 is indeed coming soon, after a Facebook group called 100,000 Strong for TimeSplitters 4, a group I shamelessly joined back then, was formed, and it made a petition to show Free Radical that we wanted TimeSplitters 4, and it got nowhere near 100,000 signatures. However, during all that, Free Radical confirmed one thing: even if we got 100,000 signatures, TimeSplitters 4 was officially dead. So it turns out all this promotional material was just a clever way for Free Radical to sell the concept to potential publishers, because they certainly weren't going back to EA, that's for damn sure. Unfortunately, the final nail in the coffin was when they went to the one publisher that was actually being realistic with them, and they just said that they couldn't market the game because there wasn't a main character to push. Hello, Sergeant Cortez is right here. Probably why all the concept art featured monkeys, so they could say, okay, we don't have one central protagonist, but we have a mascot, monkeys. This is also stupid, because at this time, Captain Price was one of the main characters of one Call of Duty game, long before he became the face of Modern Warfare, but Activision had no problem marketing the series that changes protagonist after every game. With the death of TimeSplitters 4, a group of fans took it upon themselves to make their own spiritual successor, a project that got the personal blessing from the entire TimeSplitters team, TimeSplitters Rewind, a project where they were going to remake TimeSplitters 2 with HD visuals while also including aspects of 3. This is never coming out. It's been in development for over a decade, and I've been following it every inch of the way, but it's a small team that's not receiving any compensation from this. Making a game on this scale is too big for a small team that still has to live their lives and make money from a real job, but the hopes of getting to play some TimeSplitters with friends online is enough to keep the project going. But like I said, don't hold your breath. But alas, that was the death of TimeSplitters. Eventually, Free Radical just shut down, and that was it. That was it. Until 2018! You see, Free Radical was bought and absorbed into Crytek and renamed Crytek UK until it shut down in 2014. But then Deep Silver. But anyways, Deep Silver, owned by Embracer, formerly known as THQ Nordic. THQ Nordic. But anyways, they acquired the rights of TimeSplitters and announced, on my birthday actually, that a new TimeSplitters game was happening. But unfortunately, it was going to be made by new developers. Until 2021, you see, Deep Silver announced that they were reforming Free Radical and got the band back together. That's right, all the creatives that brought TimeSplitters to life were back to bring us a new generation of TimeSplitters, and it was a wonderful time to be alive. Until December 2023, Embracer shut down Free Radical and canceled TimeSplitters again. Except this time, it sounds like it's for real. I'll never say never, but I feel like once you get to the point where your game gets royally fucked over like this, other publishers will look at it like it's a plague, despite that plague status only being inflicted because of EA's poor management. No one will want to take the risk of putting money into this game at this point. It really sucks because apparently the idea of this game would be to make it a Fortnite clone. Okay, so I know it's the popular thing to hate Fortnite, but that's an amazing idea. I'm not a Battle Royale guy, but TimeSplitters is essentially a winning formula for a Battle Royale. You can make a map about all these different time periods and combine into one. There could all these different weapons, from 6 shooters to plasma rifles. Of course, the characters give Free Radical the opportunity to just pump these guys out for all the players, where they'd have to go years before having to develop more characters before the inevitable crossovers begin. This game could have easily breathed new life into the series, brought interest to the franchise, and could have honestly been used as a good jumping off point, using profits from the Battle Royale to make a full-fledged TimeSplitters reboot, or even just including a campaign mode to the Battle Royale game. Alright, enough fantasizing, we all know how this would really go down. This will just be another Apex Legends situation. So I legitimately love the Titanfall games, maybe a future video. But Titanfall got the short end of the stick, as EA thought it was a good idea to release Titanfall 2 during the week between the new Call of Duty and the new Battlefield. What the fuck, EA? You made Battlefield 2! How did you let this happen? Titanfall was a series, like TimeSplitters, that deserved a much better fate than it had received. But a few years back, they released a Battle Royale taking place in the Titanfall universe, Apex Legends, a game that has stood tall against Fortnite and is extremely popular in its own right. But of course, everyone at Respawn was confident that the success of this and the fact that there's a lot of people playing Apex have renewed interest in Titanfall, that surely EA would greenlight a Titanfall 3 and give fans the best of both worlds. No, that didn't happen obviously. This isn't 2005 EA, this is 2020's EA. They piss off people just because it's their kink at this point. And that's exactly what would have happened to TimeSplitters. Maybe if we were lucky, it could have been a good Battle Royale, but Deep Silver would be too clouded by the money to let them do anything but keep TimeSplitters as a Battle Royale, so when the inevitable Battle Royale decline happens, there goes TimeSplitters again. However, apparently before they got shut down, Free Radical instead toyed with the idea of making a TimeSplitters 2 remake with Corporal Hart as the hero instead of Cortez. And you know what? I'd be down with that. Corporal Hart was cool, and Sergeant Cortez had an entire game to win our hearts with. But again, Embracer shut down Free Radical, and it seems like this is the end for our dear old TimeSplitters. Like I said before, this video has been in my head for a long time. Long before I started this channel. I do wish I would have waited for when I was a little more competent with making videos for the platform before making this, as this video is special to me. But it's so special that I just had to make it now, especially with the events that happened earlier this year. It really sucks because I saw footage of the cancelled TimeSplitters 4 prototype and it looked like TimeSplitters in HD, which is a good thing. And now you can jump! That's innovation, baby! This series will always hold an important place in my heart, even though one game I didn't praise too much. When I started this channel, I intentionally made a video that was negative, but I don't want to be the negative guy. So I made this video that I was sure was going to be more positive. Joke's on me there. Then another video that was 50% negative. I even put off a bigger video I was making just because that was also getting pretty negative too, and I just wanted to talk about something I loved. Hence, TimeSplitters. So I enjoyed making this weird video that I don't know if I can call it a review, a retrospective, a weird kind of playthrough / let's play. Well, at least when I came up with this video, it could be described as any of those topics I just mentioned. But after December 2023, it's best that I call this what it really is. A tribute. A tribute to a game series that brought me countless hours of entertainment, even with those really shitty friends I had as a kid. TimeSplitters is a trilogy that deserved better, but at least it got the passionate fans it made over the last 24 years, even if those fans are getting quieter and quieter over the last few years. This story began with GoldenEye and EA, and it ended with GoldenEye and EA.